Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human nature stories from the Carolinas and beyond. I hope everyone is doing well. Today it's Sunday and it's April the 11th. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our story today takes us to Rock Hill in South Carolina. Take a look at the headline. And it reads, mass shooting in South Carolina leaves 7 dead. Suspect, a former N.F.L player, among the dead. I'll provide you with a summary here, and as always, I'll place links to a few of the full articles in the description box. Now, on the afternoon of Wednesday, April 7, 2021, we heard the news that a well-known doctor from South Carolina, his wife, and 2 of his grandchildren were among 5 people who had been shot to death in his home in South Carolina. The victims were identified as Dr. Robert Leslie, age 70, his wife Barbara, 69, their 2 grandchildren, Ada, 9, and Noah, 5. A man who was working in the home, his name was James Lewis, age 38, and it was reported that he was an air condition repairman. He was found dead on the outside of the home, and those were the deaths initially reported. We also learned that Dr. Leslie was an emergency medicine physician. He had been an ER physician for decades, and he was currently serving as the emergency medicine medical director of Rock Hill General Hospital in South Carolina. Now, a motive for the murders were not disclosed initially, and on the following morning, it was stated that one of the technicians at the scene, apparently there were 2 technicians at the scene, one was killed and the other one who was injured. That injured one was able to call his employer and let them know that he had been shot. So very early on, the police knew exactly who they were looking for, and they didn't have to go far because he was at his home. His mother's home was located very close to where the murders took place. And after several hours of negotiation, police said he was found dead inside, and he was dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, the second air-conditioned technician on the home that day was this man right here, Robert Shook, age 38, from Cherryville, North Carolina. And as I already mentioned, that he had been shot. It was reported that he was shot 6 times, but he was still able to make that phone call and to call his supervisors and let them know what had taken place. And as I was preparing this video, I found out that Mr. Shook, he also had died from his injuries. The suspect was identified as a former N.F.L player named Phillip Adams, age 33. It was reported that Adams was a South Carolina native. He played football in college while attending South Carolina State University and was later drafted into the N.F.L, where he was reported to have played for a number of professional teams, but he played professionally for 6 years, and it's been over 5 years now since he's left the N.F.L. Now, the news media also reported that during Adams' professional N.F.L career, he played a total of 78 games. They said he suffered a number of significant injuries, which may have contributed to ending his professional playing career. Specifically, it was pointing out that during the 2012 season, he sustained 2 concussions over 3 games. Now, his father spoke to the media, and he said he blamed the N.F.L for what his son had become. Apparently, he had been withdrawing and isolating himself, and he probably had been experiencing some degrees of mental challenges over the years. And for the entire day on Thursday, social media was flooded with articles containing questions and assertions as to whether or not Adams had suffered from CTE. And for those of you who don't know, CTE is chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and it's a degenerative brain disease found in athletes, military veterans, and others who've had a history of repetitive brain trauma. And the problem with the diagnosis of CTE, it can't really be diagnosed when the person is alive. It has to be diagnosed through brain tissue examination after the person is dead. And we do know it's going to take some time before the pathology of his brain is the results of the examination is revealed. And his friends and family are now speaking about changes they had noticed in his behavior. And I think this is very interesting. They said his life basically went adrift after his NFL career ended. He struggled to find work. His attempts to reconnect with NFL failed, and that's because, he had a lot of injuries. He was no longer marketable. He had a child to support, and by this time, his behavior was becoming more and more, it was becoming increasingly aggressive. And according to his sister, that was out of character for him. Another friend said his behavior had changed and he would often pace outside aimlessly. We know he was having problems with the law, not only in South Carolina, he had some problems in North Carolina as well. And my question is this: if the family had been noticing these significant changes in his behavior, and you're now speaking out about his mental decline, now tell me exactly what did you do to get him help? This was not mentioned in any of the articles I read. Nonetheless, friends say despite the challenges he faced, he was very close to his mother, and he remained at home caring for his mom, who had become a paraplegic after a car accident about a decade ago. And I'm sure this was creating additional stressors for him as well. But the question I have is why? Regardless of what may have contributed to his mental decline, why did the suspect choose this home, these people, this family, who were his neighbors, and two of their workers, probably people he had never known or never met? Why did he decide to spare his own family, his parents, who he lived with, and why create so much pain and devastation for a neighbor? The sheriff said that two weapons were used in this incident, a 45 caliber and a 9mm weapon. So most likely there had to have been some aspect of deliberate planning here, because after he shot these people, he went back to his home and barricaded himself in the house with his parents inside, but he chose not to hurt them. So there seemed to be some type of rational thought taken place, because the sheriff had to assist in removing his parents from the home before they eventually went in and found out that he had taken his own life. Now, I listened to the sheriff's interview to the media on his briefing, rather, to the media on Friday. And one of the things he's suggesting is that there's a possibility that there may have been a doctor-patient relationship existing between the suspect and Dr. Leslie, because as we know, Dr. Leslie was an emergency medicine physician. It was stated that Dr. Leslie was treating the suspect, and when he stopped administering him medication, that's what prompted this assault. But then again, this is just one theory. It has not been substantiated. It has not been validated, even though there's a possibility that it can be true. Right now, I am saying it's just a theory, because it has not gone through the full realm to discover whether or not it's accurate. Now, I speak from the heart when I say that I honestly feel that there are too many mass killings, and we need to come up with a sensible way to get a grip on this problem. I am all for responsible gun ownership, but the guns by themselves don't kill anyone. It's the people using the guns that create the problem. One of our challenges is deciding just who needs to have them. Don't get me wrong. I consider myself a responsible gun owner, and I'm not advocating to take away anybody's rights. But I think if it gets to the point where I am not making rational decisions, when people are noticing that there's varying degrees of mental decline, I would hope that someone, whether it's a family member or my friend, would introduce the discussion of removing guns from the home. Now, that may not solve all of the problems, but it may solve some of the problems. And I'm not just blowing off steam, because I've had to do this for someone I know, and fortunately for my family and for that family, the discussion went very well. But I think it's time for us to come together, put our heads together, and try to develop a sensible approach to getting guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them. And that's all I have for you right now. Feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video. And by all means, feel free to like and just share it. And if you have a topic you'd like to see me highlight on this channel, by all means, drop me a note. My email address is listed in the description box. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on this notification bell right here, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.